Hey everybody, I'm Revengeance and welcome to another episode of American Horror Story Boy Wonder. I'm here with my co-host Stacey Smith. Hey Stacey, how you doing tonight?
Good. Another awesome episode and another Saturday night to talk about it. Yes.
Yes, I know. It was really awesome, really awesome. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right in and get going on this stuff. We had Cordelia this week who it came right into her vision. Like it started right off where we left off last weekend with her when she was unconscious and she was when she hit the ground when she seen who was it? Queenie and Madison, and she had a vision. So yeah, she was back at Robichaux's, huh?
She was. Yes, she was.
I have to say that was probably my first moment of just. This is really funny considering we've had the puking up everywhere and people getting stabbed and everything, but this was probably my one moment of just gross this whole season. And then I turned around and was like, I really wish I had a candy apple. And that was when the zombies kind of came after Cordelia.
That is so morbid.
I know. It's Halloween. It's in the air. I can't help it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just make me think of a candy apple, I'll tell you that.
That's playing with all the costume makeup, I swear. I've just been around too much. Orlando, that's Orlando for you.
He whiz. You're killing me.
Oh, and then, of course, you know, she's seen during her vision. Let's talk about her vision a little bit. You know, aside from the grossness of everybody, there's your zombies this season. You had them. There's your moment.
You know what?
We had the zombies kind of coming after her. Go ahead.
I'm so not happy about that. You know that, right? You were right again, and I was wrong again. And I'm so not happy about zombies. I hope we're done with them. That was it. That was just that little part and no more. Okay, rant over.
You know what? If she's seen them in her vision of what's to come, that makes me think that that's not all. That they're probably going to pop up somewhere ahead.
I'm trying to like.
I know. Just I know. But yeah, it was a vision of what's to come, and how did she put it exactly? What she was due to prevent the things to come, or something like that. You know, we seen cataclysm, fire, death, a man with a demonic face. The academy is reduced to cinders. The only chance of surviving depends on what I do next, is what she says.
Cordelia is never going to learn.
No, she's not. She's definitely not.
She's never going to learn. I'm so, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I have to agree. And Fandom Descent, yeah, definitely. I think this is probably my favorite season also of American Horror Story. The way that they bring in the previous seasons and the story arcs from not just Coven season, but they also have brought in Hotel. They're bringing in pieces of Roanoke. They're bringing in, it's kind of all of them. We're seeing little bits of all of them. It's just amazing, you know? Just little interesting things going on. I just can't wait to see what's going to happen next, just with all that stuff that's happening, you know? It's just kind of like, wow. And that's like we were talking, and we'll get to this a little later. I don't want to get too much, but we were talking about the gas station and wondering if that was the gas station from Asylum.
Could be.
Yeah, but we'll get to that. So, and let's get back to Robichaux's. During her vision, she's at Robichaux's, and she's seeing that white face demon that she was talking about. Now, me and you were talking a little bit about this, and I kind of did a little bit of research, just curious about the white face demon thing. Something Easter egg in the original Exorcist movie, face demon. that you can see kind of just up over the mantle looking piece.
Mhm.
It's just really creepy. If you want to check it out, just look that up. But there's a lot of stuff involving white-faced demons out there. It just is kind of a whole thing falling into the demonology. And we see that a little bit later during the ritual that John Henry got freaked out, that flash, and we've seen it before with Michael, with Mallory, that flash too. So that's got to be some kind of thing right there going on.
Yeah. So I've got some thoughts about her vision. Like I said, Cordelia, you are never going to learn, dear. And it really irritated me that she actually decided to act on her dang vision, because it is definitely a planted vision. It is not her own. It is not a real vision. Okay. She was trying to prevent that from happening. And because she acted on it, she's going to make it happen now, because she's going to lose her powers as a former Supreme, when she could have done something about it and just not let him do the 7 wonders. That's my thought, is it's a planted vision, just like her mom did to her. Okay. We talked about that.
Yes. I'm so glad that that's the way that you're thinking too, because I think by the actions that she's taking, that's exactly what's happening. She's putting everything into action because she's playing into it.
She is, and she's being deceived by the deceiver, right? And the other thing is, this entire vision, or at least I thought last time that it was going to be that, that whole war in heaven. That's not what it is. It's basically the foreshadowing of the loss of her powers as a Supreme. Like, she was putting her hands up trying to keep them back, and she realized she had an oh crap moment where she looked at her hands and she didn't have powers. So she should have known. She should have known from that vision. Cordelia, you are guilty. It's all your fault. Okay? This is all going to happen now because she enabled it. She's an enabler. I'm done.
No, I'm so glad that this is where you're going. Okay, now I was thinking this too. Now, because when she comes out of the vision a little bit later, and she's sitting there with Myrtle and Robichaux's, and she's actually talking about what she's seen and about how she's fading and everything, and about him becoming the next Supreme and why she needs to do the 7 wonders. And Myrtle's against everything, She's like, why are you doing this? Why don't you just learn from Fiona's mistakes? Name a successor, don't repeat the same things. And she's like, oh, it's because I'm fading and stuff. She is so adamant against, yes, no, Michael. It's like she is like so pro Michael. What is that all about? But then later she wants to try and act like, wait a minute, no, he's up to something. He's shady. But it's like she's following all the steps. How does she know that she's leading where everything's going? You know what I mean? If she was really...
This isn't her master plan. This is not her master plan playing
out.
No,
it's not. Okay? It's not.
She's trying to cover her butt.
She's literally falling into step. Exactly. I mean, he's the one that went and got medicine out. He got Queenie out. He got Misty out. It's not, oh, she got all her girls back to fight the good fight. It's he got the girls back for her for his reasons, not because hers.
He couldn't do it, and he wanted to prove a point. It had nothing to do with her master plan. Cordelia, you suck. You suck. You suck. You suck. I'm done.
No, I agree.
I'm over you, girl.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I was so with you on that. And her being the chance of survival is just not going to happen. Now, she said...
She even said that she was going to die. She foreshadowed her own death. So, you know what? Bye, Cordelia. Peace, deuces, whatever.
And it set it up like she was some kind of martyr sacrifice or something going on with that whole scene. You know what I mean? Now, by that time, he would already be Supreme. Yeah. There's already some kind of death and destruction going on in that whole vision. So and she didn't have no power anyway. So I mean, it already showed that she had lost her power. So what good is she anyways? Wouldn't she have already been gone? Maybe that's her hell.
Could be.
That'd be kind of interesting. I would think Fiona would be in her hell though. Now,
did we ever see her hell? I don't remember.
We didn't. Fiona's we did, but we didn't see Cordelia's.
Huh.
Now it says at the rise of the blue moon, they will give Michael the test of the 7 wonders. So we were talking about the blood moon. So let's get into that a little bit now.
Let's talk about that blood moon.
Yeah, that blood moon was kind of a cool ass thing going on, huh? Now, just a little interesting thing. This year we got a blood moon on October 24th. Just if anyone's interested. But every October the full moon is considered a blood moon, first of all. But okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I found. Oh, I'm going to tell them a little bit about what I found, and then I'm going to let you tell me about some stuff you found too, okay? And then we'll kind of go from there.
It's very short but sweet.
Okay. Now, I was checking out some astronomy for the year 2021, just out of curiosity, and the actual blood moon in October falls on October 20th. And then I was curious to see when the full moon would fall, if it did fall about 2 weeks after Halloween, because we're figuring that we're about Halloween on the show, right? Because they had the All Hallows Eve party, and 2 weeks later, right? Okay. So about 2 weeks later ish would be November 19th. It's about 2.5 weeks later, actually. And that would be the November 19th full moon. Now, we had the blood moon on October 20th, which is the official one. But then we have one, it says for November 19th, it says, and this is an astronomy calendar. It says the moon will be located on the opposite side of the earth as the sun, and its face will be fully illuminated. This moon will be known, this I can't read, bear with me. That's why I don't read to my kids much. This full moon was known by early Native American tribes as the full beaver moon because this was the time of year to set the beaver traps before the swamps and rivers froze. It has also been known as the frosty moon and the hunter's moon. Now, the hunter's moon is what a blood moon usually is. That's all, because that's when they set all their traps and caught everything right before. That's when you got your big catch before winter came, basically. So that's kind of where the whole blood moon thing came from, which is usually why it fell in October before, because that's when we had seasons, I guess. Which is global warming is real. So that kind of does match up a little bit with the time. And as far as the show, now I know just from my superstition stuff and all that blood moons are just usually bad omens of stuff coming and to carry stuff for protection. So go ahead and tell me some stuff that you want to talk about with it, and we'll kind of go now.
So a few pieces of additional information about a blood moon are that it could be seen as a good or a bad omen. So it could go either way. So in Cordelia's mind, she's thinking the blood moon is probably going to be a good omen if she's a positive force, right? But it really does turn out to be a bad omen. Something that's, we're talking about a powerful force with the moon because of the way that, that the moon and the earth and the sun are aligned. So there's a lot of power in that. But the Mesopotamians actually believe that, a blood moon is a moon that's being attacked by 7 demons.
I really like that one.
So I'm tying back in the number 7 and the idea of the demons here. And also, there's also some societies that say, and this is a kind of like a lesser thought about it, but that it's a demon swallowing the moon, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay.
No, and I've only just begun. I'm just kidding.
Well, hang on. Okay, hang on really quick though. Let's think. How many people did we still have? How many people died from the apples? Do we have with like Mr. Gallant, Timothy and Emily? Is there 7 people? Is what I'm trying to figure out.
All together?
Yeah, like could that be Michael's 7 demons?
Ones that died all together?
Yeah. I'm wondering if he could raise those as his 7 demons. Hi, Connie.
I don't know, but we should definitely take some time and go and look at that, because you know, those could be demons that were created by Michael. I'm going to get into the whole demon thing too. I know.
Oh yeah. So
yeah. Okay.
Cindy, I highly recommend it. Even if you haven't seen other seasons, this season of American Horror Story is really easy to catch on to, and it's an anthology anyways. So it's one of those shows you can watch any season and be good. But this season would probably get you into and make you want to watch the other seasons just because of all the tie-ins to previous seasons.
Yeah.
It's really getting good. Like, and I'd probably say, I don't know, to me it's the least scary, I think. There's been a few moments, but nothing as far as gore goes, I'm gonna say that.
Yeah. It doesn't have I don't think it really has scare factor yet.
Yeah, me either. I keep waiting for it. It's like missing that whole Rob Zombie effect to it.
unless you're like, you know, one of those people who believes in, you know, the end of times, the end of the world, and you see something like this, that's how it's going to play out. Totally, you know, then that would freak some people out, I would think. But no, it's not like that this season.
This is how I look at American Horror Story. Everybody has something that they're scared of. And something they're terrified of, actually. Let me rephrase that. And at some point in the show, they're going to find it and they're going to get to you. I didn't know I had things that really got to me in weird ways until I watched this show. I didn't know I was scared of clowns. I never thought I was scared of clowns. I've been messing with my cousin, and I call her Tricky, and she knows who she is, but her name's Nikki. But I've been messing with Tricky for years about clowns. I like to scare her. I like to send her pictures of clowns. I have been messing with her since she was little. I'm older than her, but since she was real little. And now it seems I am terrified of creepy ass clowns now too. So I did not know that till Colt came out. I was fine with the clown the first go around during Freak Show. I toughed it out, but then we got to them little group of clowns, and I'm just messed up now, I guess. So they will find you. They will find something in that show that just gets you every time.
They haven't found mine yet.
And the little creepy kids.
Yeah, no, they haven't found it yet. So thank goodness. Whatever it is, I'm not going to know until I see it, I think.
Oh man.
Don't wish it on me.
I know it'll happen. It'll happen. Like I said, I didn't know I had a thing for clowns until that happened. It was like, what the hell? Let me just skip over them. They was just standing there staring in the street, like looking at you, and it was like, my daughter's right. That is the one thing that's creepier than them creepy ass little children. Oh, okay. So let's get into, all right, so we got Michael. Michael's going to do the 7 wonders. Now, because we're going to get to the other stuff a little bit later, but before we get to him performing the 7 wonders, we have Cordelia talking to Myrtle, which we were talking about. We go to Robachaw's, and she tells her how she's feeling under the weather. I love how Myrtle tells her she just needs a little Centrum Silver, and that'll make her feel right again. To me, that was really funny. Okay, because in the show during Coven, Silver seems to hurt witches, which is kind of odd because normally Silver and witches kind of go together. So on the show, that's like they kind of reverse that.
Yeah.
And so when she told her she just needed a little Centrum Silver, I was just kind of a little funny nod there. But
I was wondering about that. So just I'm going to humor this for a second and say,
okay.
you know, when a witch is fading, maybe she ages faster somehow, and maybe that's why she would even suggest that to begin with. You know, because when we saw her in the Coven, she was of a, you know, relatively young childbearing age, and she wanted to have a child, and she didn't seem like she was menopausal or anything like that. So, you know, to fast forward from that to taking Centrum Silver is a huge leap. So I'm just wondering if maybe, just maybe, you know, they age faster while they're in that fading process.
You know, I've wondered that actually, if it had something to do with that, or if it's something like if she was just trying to speed her up to get her to, you know, because she was trying to kind of push Mallory on her a little bit, you know, if maybe she was just trying to, like, I don't know. If there's a little trick to it that kind of helped her along the way with it, if that makes sense.
Maybe.
Okay, let me get into Mallory a little bit because I've been waiting for this one a little bit. Now, Mallory not only undid the wounds of the animal, well, not only healed the animal, she undid them.
Yeah.
And Myrtle said that she'd never seen any magic that strong. So even with Fiona and Cordelia and, oh, I forget the Supreme that was before her.
And Annalie.
Yeah, Annalie, thank you. Yeah. So she's never seen that.
But you know what that is? That the same thing happened when when the guys discovered Michael. They had the same conversation.
Really?
About how they had never seen anyone as powerful as Michael's powers too. Again, those cross comparisons.
That goes back to the whole balance and everything again too.
Yep.
Hi, Brandon. How are you tonight, dear? See, and that makes me think again too that she is going to be the one, like, he's going to bring in the darkness and she's going to bring in the light, sort of thing, you know. So yeah, sorry, I got distracted with the Mallory part. Okay, so does that mean that Mallory? Do you think? Okay, let me ask you this: do you think that she did, even though we haven't seen it yet? Do you think that she did, or is going to make Mallory the Supreme?
So here's the thing, right? So Cordelia has already lost her powers to a Supreme, aka the Alpha. So she's not going to be in any sort of power to be able to say who gets to do the 7 wonders. That's Michael's job now. So whether Mallory gets to do it or not, you know, it would have to be up to Michael, unless she just does it and does her own thing. But theory time.
Yes.
Because you brought up Mallory. So here's the thing. I think Mallory is from a line of white witches. And we saw 3 white witches, I think, in this episode. We saw Stevie Nicks. We saw Mallory dressed in white when everyone else was dressed in black. And we also saw Misty come back. And I believe she's also a white witch. So I think that's what we're seeing. And there's a certain power in that. I want to skip ahead to something that kind of probably tipped me off to that. Now, when we were talking about how Stevie Nicks was singing that song Gypsy directly to Misty after she was brought back, something that kind of caught my eye when I turned on the captions was a part of the lyrics where she's singing to Misty, "It all comes down to you." And she was touching Misty's face when she said that. And I'm thinking to myself, she's past, you know, these are white witch powers. They're the powers of healing, right? If Stevie was healing Misty, and Misty was our first known healer in all of this series, and then we see Mallory with that same healing abilities, I just want you to know that also goes down to, let me blow your mind for a second. So the Archangel Michael was also known as a healing angel. So I just want to make a few connections there, because I think we're kind of seeing this play out. And I think that the Archangel Michael may actually be in the form of Mallory. How?
Oh, I love that. I really do. Okay.
Those white witches, man, they've got their own line, their own special abilities that that nobody else has, is what I'm guessing.
No, I like the way you're thinking too. And she says, and you're bringing up song lyrics too, and it's talking about lightning strikes only once, or maybe once, maybe twice.
Yeah.
And Mallory and Misty.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and she did do that to her too. And
yeah,
we were talking earlier too.
Healing touch. Yeah.
Right. About how we thought that she was healing Misty whenever she brought her back, and she was like wrapping around her and all.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, and oh yeah. Okay. So I like that. I really like that. Now, I've thought that about Misty before too, about her being a white witch. I thought that when I watched Coven. Mallory being one makes a lot of sense too. And I did catch her outfit. I really did. And it was like she was wearing a crown too. And it reminded me of Timothy's crown that he wore back when he ate the apple. Another thing with that too, oh man, I wonder where did this even happen? Oh, I'll bring that up later. Just ask me about Timothy and Emily later. The way she just was separated out from everybody else. That happened with Misty too. It was like Misty, like how Cordelia was talking about, I've only known you for a short time, but I missed you so much. Yep. And it was like she known her forever and everything like that. That's just kind of the way that, you know, it was with Stevie, and it was with all of them, you know.
It just seems like it's very specific to them.
Yeah, it's like they just have this way with people, and you know, as soon as they meet them, it's like they just have a light around them, and you know, it's
so
just.
Let me throw something else out there then. Let me throw something else out there, because if that's the case, and Misty was talking about, I just want to make a couple more connections here. And Misty was talking about the stench of Michael, how he has the perfume of death. But then we get Coco's story where she smells gluten and she can save people's lives. So I'm wondering if Coco, we don't know this yet, okay? We don't know much about her powers except that she can, you know, I don't know, she can save someone's life who has celiac disease from eating gluten. But maybe she has that super sniffer that Misty was talking about, that that she could smell the stench of death. And I'm just kind of relating it back to her situation with her brother that brought her to the school in the first place, that maybe she might be among them as well.
That's actually a very good call right there. I love that. I love that. I love that. Maybe that's what it comes all down to, is they need the white witches to bring them down.
So the four of them.
So far, yeah, you think that's a good start right there.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Zoe's, I don't know about Zoe, honestly.
No.
I mean, I could see, but yeah.
I'm going to count her out. I don't see, she's not, I think they're really putting emphasis on these white witches and
Yeah.
Versus everyone else. So I just have a feeling like we're gonna see this. You know how I kind of broke off the warlocks versus the male witches, right? So Michael, he's different from the rest of the male witches, and how I think these white witches are different from the female witches. I think they have their own category as well. So I think that there's, you know, something to be said for that too.
Oh yeah, well that I definitely think that there's definitely a difference in the witches, because I mean, even when you think about, we had the voodoo witches, and then you're gonna have white witches, you're gonna have dark witches. I mean, you're gonna have gray area witches, honestly, just depending on who they are, and
Yeah.
you know, because it goes with intent. A lot of it. You got me thinking a lot more about this now, and I'm sitting here thinking about the different ones. Now, in general, when I'm going through the different witches now, I think Madison her fate is going to end up back at the murder house. She's in Montgomery. That's where she belongs. She's doomed to end up there.
Yep. That's what
and I think when Cordelia woke up from her vision and she was saying Queenie, Zoe, and Myrtle, the reason she didn't say her name was because Madison was still at the murder house. I think she's going to end up trapped there.
That would make sense to me.
Right? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because she was like, "Why didn't you say my name? You know, did you notice I was dead?"
And she sends Madison, of all people, back to murder house. Of all people. Come on.
I know, right?
That wasn't like completely blatant and obvious.
Oh, I know. Yeah, and let's talk about Coco a minute with her little thing. And she's sensing danger. And she told her that that's actually a very powerful gift. She doesn't think she's that strong. She thinks Madison called her last episode, "Oh, you're the weakest among us." Not necessarily, because that is a very powerful gift.
But we don't know. We don't know because she hasn't realized her potential, like Cordelia was telling her. So we don't know yet. We haven't seen the extent of her powers except for her, you know, her powerful mouth, her attitude.
Right. Well, and we know too that when they die and come back, that they come back more powerful than they were too. So we don't know what more she can do now, what more powers have manifested.
So, and that's the thing too. Let me kind of take us back to when Michael was having his interview with Coco, and he basically called her shallow. Now, that's the extent that she considers her own powers to be shallow, and she considers herself to be ungifted. And I think that, you know, I think that Michael just kind of, you know, I think that he doesn't quite understand the her abilities then, if that's the case.
Yeah, no, and I think that's probably it. I think that has something to do with the I guess glamour that Cordelia put on her and Mallory, where they had to disguise them so that to protect them, you know.
Identity.
Yeah, and I think that has to go with it. If they disguised her, you know, as a shallow person, then maybe she seemed more superficial. I mean, she already had the money to play it off. Her dad obviously knew that she was a witch. He seemed proud of her too. So that seems like that's one of them old bloodlines that probably does come back to Salem. And you think about it, she was a Vanderbilt. So that's some old money and old family name right there. So that's probably one of them that really did go back to Salem, at least as far as we're going in this storyline. Mm-hmm. And it probably is going to be something. And okay, let me bring this up really quick. Where or who rather is Coco's brother? Now his name is Trevor, right?
Okay.
We don't know his whereabouts, okay? Do you remember from the first episode if he was with them in Hong Kong?
It wasn't just her parents in the view of the phone. It looked like there were at least other people with them. So that's probably his fate.
That's what I was wondering, and I was trying to remember because it seemed like there was somebody else with them,
Yeah.
or there was another spot at least, but I was thinking it was for her husband, and so I'm going to go back and rewatch the entire season now just to get up to date.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Had to grab my drink really quick. Try not to spill it this time.
So something else, and let me just kind of go back. Since we're still on Coco, I just want to mention something. For me, this wasn't an easy line to pass up, but when she was meeting with those girls with, you know, the gas problems from eating the gluten and everything, she said that, you know, that the government lies, right? So that gave me an uneasy feeling for a moment, because we also had Queenie earlier in the episode, you know, after Cordelia woke up and after, you know, Queenie, you know, is basically coming to terms with her being alive again. She questions whether this is real or not. So I'm just going to go there for a second and say, I hope this is, you know, that this is not kind of I don't know, like some sort of a setup or something. So I don't know. It's just a kind of weird thing that I got. I understand they were talking about like the FDA at that moment, but you know, to say the government lies, and then to also hear, you know, Queenie questioning whether or not this is happening, which could it in itself be a lie.
Like, is this real?
The whole deceitfulness of Cordelia's vision. Again, I can't help but get this.
Misty did it too. No, Misty did it too. She was like, "Am I?" Like she was going to say, "Am I dead?" Is what I thought she was going to say. And Cordelia's like, "Yes, you're awake." You know, she cut her off before she could finish her sentence. No, it's like they're all questioning the reality and nature of everything that's going on around them.
Yeah.
Remember, I was talking about that, whether or not this is all real or if it's just a kind of illusion going on around them.
Yeah.
You know, it made me think of that again.
We did kind of jump into that a little bit because, you know, we were talking about the surroundings, the fog, and whether or not it was overkill or underkill. They're, you know, having to wear their suits on the outside and everything.
Yeah.
And the witches are walking up without these suits, like, oh yeah, you know, like
the FDA thing reminded me right off the bat when Coco was talking about the government. The first thing I thought about was the agents, let's call them, that came for Timothy at the very beginning of the show, right off the bat.
Yep.
Because they seemed to be like they were from the government, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to get into a little bit about really quick about the blessing that we had from the warlocks, because Michael got blessed. We had a little ritual going on here, and it went a little something like that. Behold, blessed him salt from the earth. Yes. And then Baldwin did the second line of all this. I thought that was kind of interesting that Baldwin, are you catching that part? Baldwin did the second line of every part of the ritual. So first, Behold said salt from the earth. Then Baldwin said, for all hindrance and malignity. Yeah. And then John Henry, water from the sea. And it was to cleanse all impurities and uncleanliness. And then Ariel, blood from the body, to protect the soul. Now, they materialized everything from their hands. So like salt from their body, water from their body, and blood from their body. So essentially there's part of them in this spell. That's kind of really important, first of all. that's really important, actually. And yeah, that kind of makes it more potent. And then it's the fire that they did. They set it on fire. They poured a circle around them and did a fire to protect, so all darkness and cold could retire herein, is what they said. Now, I thought it was kind of interesting that it was so the darkness and the cold could stay within the circle, and within the circle would have been within Michael. So he is kind of the embodiment of darkness, and cold seems to be something that kind of lingers with the warlocks.
And it was a blue flame too.
It was a blue flame, which seems to go, for some reason, with coldness. That happens a lot lately. I don't know what's going on there.
But that's not the case. I mean, but that's what they may want it to represent in this.
Yeah, it just seems to be happening a lot lately, is all I'm saying. It's a common theme. Right, I know. They said, "May the fire illuminate the hearts and minds." It's the power of all the warlocks. They wanted the power of all the warlocks ever, like every warlock. That's kind of creepy. So they're attaching not just their power, but of every warlock ever to this circle of protection for wisdom, perseverance, strength, and courage when he does the 7 wonders. So that makes me think right there that not only are they tying themselves, but they're tying all the warlocks' power into him going and doing the 7 wonders. And I kind of worried that that's going to weaken them later. I'm kind of worried about the water and the salt and the blood causing, if nothing else, the very least, some kind of madness or control in the 3. We've already seen one of them die, which comes a little bit after this part, right after this part, pretty much. So we've already had our first warlock fatality, but with the ritual itself, just what were your initial thoughts about this whole creepiness going on? And then, of course, we've seen that white-faced demon. Yeah.
So they didn't die in the order that they did, these elements, right? So that's out, okay? Because John Henry was the second person. He was the water boy, if you will, and he died first. So I'm going to discount that and say that that's not the order that they're going to die. However, what I did notice is that when it was mentioned that the blood was going to protect Michael's soul, he kind of smirked a little bit, and
I caught that.
Made me think that there's nothing there. First of all, you soulless. Anyway. Yeah. So, and of all people, it was Ariel's blood, and he's not, we're seeing now, he's really not the best guy either. So, that was an interesting choice for the blood of all people, Ariel, his biggest backer, and, you know, someone who's willing to get his hands dirty for him too. So again, the hands, because Michael's hands are clean of all of this, right? He sent his minions to kind of do his bidding, and that's pretty much what we saw happen soon after the 7 wonders. Yeah, and John Henry was afraid, but he wasn't the only one who was, and thank goodness people are coming to their senses about him. And you see it all around the episode too, is various people voicing their concerns that Michael, that they're afraid of him, that there's something, about him that's not good, and they would be right. So yeah. I'm on team them.
Yeah, the truth is starting to come out, and if in fact you start to see a darker side of Michael start to come around too, like it's like he's starting to look a little just angrier himself in general, It was kind of cool, actually. It was kind of creepy too, but perfect. Okay, let's get to the friggin' seven wonders. I mean, they prepared him for the seven wonders, and then, well, before we get to seven wonders, we got to get to John Henry. Okay. John Henry leaves the ritual, goes to his room, and immediately starts packing his bag. He's ready to get out of there. He's terrified because he's seen the white-faced demon in Michael during the ritual while everyone's congratulating. And we seen, okay, now that big flame that came out in the middle, I think was something more. I think that was Daddy being proud. I don't think that was their ritual. And I think that's what I think. I think that was Daddy being proud and giving his blessing is the way to put it, I guess.
I can see that.
Yeah, because that was just a whole different flame right there. And then we get that little flash of the white-faced demon, and it terrifies John Henry. He sees it, and Michael's not so afraid to show his darker side right there even. And John Henry goes, and behold comes in there, and he makes a little comment about when's the last time you had a 26-year-old come through your doorway. And they just kind of go back and forth. And he's thinking he's just jealous, And he's like, no, I'm not jealous. I'm afraid.
Yep.
And so and we see his powers as telekinesis. So we know that's what he can do.
It was cheesy.
It was.
What they gave him, I'll be honest with you. What they gave him to do was not very advanced. It was very basic, and I feel like maybe it was just a little bit more rigorous when the girls were going through it. I just felt like that. The other thing is I started getting like little flashbacks during that Seven Wonders to when they showed the first time that the Seven Wonders was performed in Salem.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, I ain't even made it to Seven Wonders yet. I'm still on John Henry. Hang on. You're already there. I'm like, yeah.
I'm getting there. Well, yeah, because we're getting there. But I'm just saying, like, John Henry, poor guy, man. He just, he wanted to run. And I think Michael knew that he, messed with his head.
Oh, yeah. No, he definitely did. I think he was screwing with him intentionally because he knew. Because if he didn't already know that John Henry had doubts, then why would he have sent his little devil mama after him?
Yeah.
So, and we see him when he leaves, he's going after Cordelia. That's what he tells Behold. I'm going to Cordelia. I'm going for answers and for help. I'm afraid. And we see him go to the gas station where he runs into Miss Mead, I guess is her real name. Mm-hmm. And she's playing the good little sweet woman who is having problems. Now, I mentioned this earlier that I thought this reminded me of Kit Walker's gas station from Asylum. Now, before I go down this rabbit hole a little, this is where John Henry got his Achilles heel, both of them slashed, and
both of them.
Right?
He wasn't going anywhere.
Right? Both of them slashed, and he is gone. No more spells, she said. You're done. And he got lit up. He's burnt to a crisp and gone now. So
she said something country, something country barbecue. She called him.
Yeah. And he's out of the picture now, guys. So that's one more lockdown. Official tally going on now. Now, about it being Kit Walker's gas station, if that's true, then that would mean that we're in, where is it, Stacey?
Massachusetts.
Right. Which would make sense with it being the Hawthorne, too, because we traced Hawthorne to Salem, remember?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I'm kind of interested to see the landscape there if there's hills, because I remember seeing hills in the background. So now, when I look at pictures of Massachusetts, I'm trying to remember driving through it. I drove through it, but it's been a while, so that was a long time ago. Okay, anyone from the Northeast that can tell me if Massachusetts has hills, let me know. PM me, all right? Okay. Now, something interesting I want to bring up about Kit Walker really fast too. Emily and Timothy, where there was a question if that was his children. No, it's not. That's not their names. I looked that up earlier and I can't remember now, but that is definitely not their names.
Right.
So
yeah,
that was not them. Okay. Now moving along. We're gonna go now to right after that because we got to. He sees Michael runs and sees his devil mama. And he has another ally that he doesn't realize, and that is Ariel. Was that a surprise to you there?
Okay. So when I saw her, I knew something was up because she's just not going to drive up to a random gas station out of nowhere and find the only warlock on the road that has a problem with her son and drive up to him and act like she can't put gas in the dang tank. Okay, that was not an accident at all. That was not a coincidence. But to find out that Ariel was helping in that, I was a little surprised at that, but not utterly surprised. It would make sense because he is at that point of no return where he's willing to do anything for that power. And we already discussed that he's just got that sort of lust for power anyway. So that would make sense that he supports him to that extreme.
Yeah, that's like I mentioned earlier. He really looked, when he first came out of the woods there, I just had that Freddy Krueger moment because he's got that hat going on, and I was like, is Freddy Krueger joining Michael now? And yeah, so I had that nostalgia moment for a minute. And then it was like, oh no, it's just that little creepy devil looking dude. So yeah, and it was Ariel. And we got into the discussion, you and I earlier, about the line where she said, he doesn't know who your father is. So should we go ahead and open that can of worms real quick? Well, let me say really quick to wrap this part up. I wasn't surprised that, he had her helping at all, or that she popped up. But it showed that there was some, communication and premeditation around John Henry, because that just happened. And for him to act so quickly, there's some open line of communication going on between them.
Mm-hmm.
So it made me wonder if he came because he asked her to, or someone else. How she knew, rather.
So being that there's not really modern technology in that building, how did they get in touch so quickly?
Exactly. So it made me think of other ways that they could have communicated, and yeah.
Maybe we have our answer.
Yeah.
Maybe we have
and then again, it might have been through Ariel at this point, because we have an unknown accomplice this whole time. So let's go back really quick and talk about, because last episode it said, could it be Satan? And we were talking about who possibly could be Michael's father. Who's your idea so far right now? Who would be your prediction of who we've seen so far of who could possibly be his father?
So his father, you know what, Michael Lang, his I call it a donor, right? His physical father is Tate. I'm gonna leave that there, but I want to make a guess here, because we didn't really talk about this last episode, and I think we should have, and I think we've just given ourselves a little bit more time to come up with something. But there were quite a few candidates in that episode, and forgive us for going backward in time, okay? Forgive us, all right? Because this is, we kind of like to, close these loops as much as possible. So what I'm kind of thinking is that, there were a bunch of candidates for who could be Satan, right? Because the entire question for that episode was, could it be ... Satan ? And it's my feeling that Satan had materialized in some form in that episode for us to guess who it was. And I'm going to go with my gut here, and I'm going to go with the first person that I thought it was. I'm going to go with Devil Mama.
I like that.
Yep. She's the only one in that entire episode, or in this entire thing, that freely associates with the devil, period, point blank. And even I had to rule out March, because he even succumbed to Michael, which the devil would not do that. Okay, so he ruled himself out. There are other people that I feel ruled themselves out, but I feel that that Mother Mead, I'm going to call her Mother Mead.
Mother Mead, I like that.
You know, being designated as Devil Mama is the likeliest candidate here. Male or female, not going to matter in this. But what do we see? You know, in that scene, we see them sitting at the kitchen table like normal, and then you go and you got a satanic altar behind her in the kitchen. Like, are you kidding me? What else are we supposed to think?
And she's like, and that I could see that in that, but it would make sense too, because she's the one that's like, oh yeah, don't tell us, he don't know about your father. She just materialized at the gas station. Mm-hmm. She was being what Michael needed at the time as far as the mother figure, you know. She was teaching him basically, oh, this is what you need to do. Make sure you take out the insurance policies. You know, and he even said, that's the one person I ever really loved. So I made this robot, this Miss Mead, you know, I made her in your image. Yeah, exactly.
So here's one more thing that kind of teased me off to her, is the fact that she told John Henry, God bless you. And that is out of character for her. That is definitely sarcasm. That is her just, you know, throwing that out there. It's not what she believes. Okay. It is the exact opposite of everything that she believes. So I'm going out on a limb, and I'm going to say, Mother Mead, you are the devil.
I love it. I just so love it. She was like, oh gosh, my goodness. She was, I was laughing when she did that, because it was just so completely out of character for her. It was hilarious. Yeah. See, and I didn't even think about her. I swear I didn't. I was just so stuck on the warlocks. I was like, and I thought, and I'll tell you, my thought was Baldwin as far as the warlocks, and the reason being is because he's just so happy and tra-la-la, and he's sitting there typing and smiling, and he just seems so naive to everything, and so happy-go-lucky, and not a care in the world about anything.
But
he's
he was
just
consistent.
Down for it.
He was consistent across the board with his character too.
Yes.
So as far as, you know, people who are consistent, he is consistent. Madison is consistent. You know, March is consistent, except for when he encountered Michael. There's an inconsistency there. But again, he's not going to bow down. You know what I mean? Like you know what I said earlier, that March, you know, succumbed to Michael. So I just feel like Mead, and the way that they also said, and I'm gonna, when they were hugging, Michael asked her, what am I going to do without you? And she said, you know, that's something you're not going to have to worry about.
Yes, that she did. And I wondered about that. I was like, what, is she already making the robot? You know, does she already have some plan in place? How does she know that? How is she, you know, did she sell the soul to her devil, or sell her?
Killing was in her DNA, which we found out very early on, early episodes. Killing was in her DNA. To me, everything points back to her.
Oh, that's brilliant, Stacey. I like that. I like that. I think you're right about that. That is. I dig it. I dig it. That's great. No, that is. See, and I was just going for the guy that was smiling too much. Oh, he'll probably end up with ice in his head.
But as far as consistency, I just wouldn't look at him because he has been consistent.
And here's something bringing up March again. I always looked at him like he was okay. Now I look at stuff in a lot of weird ways. Like I look at it like video games and comic books and stuff like that a lot. So like to me, March would I guess be like a boss fight guy, if that makes sense. Like he's the main boss of Hotel, So he was like the devil to me, and to see him go along, and I would have thought that initially I would have been like, oh yeah, he's just telling you to go along, and he knows because he knows better. Mm-hmm. But then I started thinking about it, and it's like, no, it seems like he just seemed like he was giving in, like you said, he was giving in. That's a good way to put it. He was giving in.
Yeah.
I thought that I think he's powerful and he's a higher up, but I don't think he is. I used to think like as Hotel, like as like a kind of pit sort of thing, going on. And he was the devil setting in it. But now it's like, I can't see it that way. So I guess now I'm looking at the different places as different sort of hells with demons luring over them. I'm looking at it as in a Mario level sort of way. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
To simplify it. I'm getting in a video game thing here. But I just like the idea of trying to figure out who it is, because I do think that it's going to be important later too, because at some point it's going to have to manifest, and there's going to have to be some kind of. All right, now, do you think it's going to be the white witches that are going to face off, or do you think it's going to come like where we were talking about, like Misty and it comes down to you sort of thing?
Okay, so Cordelia may have done something good and right in this episode, and this is where I'm going to give credit where credit's due. All of the right people are in the right place at the right time. The 4 white witches, I think. And I feel like the other witches are not going to survive. They've already died too. I'm not saying that they couldn't, but I think it really does come down to these white witches. And darn it, Coco, I hope they develop her a little bit more and start showing us the extent of her powers, because I still am not liking her. But if she's supposed to be an important part of this fight, which basically what Cordelia said, that Michael brought back all of her girls for the fight. Well, kind of, yeah. It was like a call to arms, really, when he brought them back. But he brought back white witches for her too. So I feel like, yeah, they're going to go in that direction.
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to think now. I think it could go that way too. I think Cordelia is going to kind of be wiped out now, and
herself.
But I don't think it's because of Michael. I don't think that's the one that drained her powers. I think it's I think it's going to be more Mallory. Okay, because you know how like they fade when the new Supreme comes up, and. But even though Michael did the 7 wonders, I don't think that's what's doing it. I think, he did maybe put a drain on her powers, but I think his powers are coming from somewhere else. I think it's probably coming more from Daddy sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think her powers are actually going to Mallory, where she's starting to bloom more. Because like where she's talking about she's decaying, she was talking about that, and then Myrtle's talking about how she just reversed the wound right then too,
directly after.
Yeah,
right, so the whole Mallory thing. I and that goes back to what we were saying in in a previous stream, that Delia was already fading, and I don't think she realized it so much, but she was fading in the presence of Mallory before she even went to that meeting and came across Michael, which was her undoing.
Yeah. And she was, yeah, before she ever got there. And as soon as she seen him, I don't think that was necessarily because of her fading anymore. I think that was more to give her the vision and lead her the wrong way. You know, because she seemed like she was too adamant towards him being a supreme that it was leading her that way. But I think it was Mallory the one siphoning her. Because it's Myrtle's the one that's leading her towards, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. So, and I still don't know how they're going to convince her. Maybe it's going to be something that we see next episode, because
maybe,
I don't know. Okay, so let's go on to this. Let's talk about the 7 wonders for real now. Okay, so we did see Michael do the 7 wonders, and it was a callback to Coven. And we seen it was like where the hell is the barn is my question, first of all. And we seen them, it was like they were back in the Salem time and in the barn, and he did it. He did everything. He did the telekinesis, then he did the concilium, transmutation, the I always mess up the word, divination. Say it for me, Stacey. Got the watch. Pyrokinesis. Yeah,
use
what do you do?
blood.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Blood and fire and blood. Go on.
Yeah, okay. So that's what I was going to talk about, the fact that he used his blood. Did you see their faces, though, whenever he did use his blood? It was like you kind of seen, it was like almost a terror on Cordelia in those face.
Mm-hmm. I still don't believe that she put him through the 7 wonders to see the extent of his powers, because she had the vision first and she went with her vision. She was going with that female intuition. Okay. She was. And she's, you know what, here's some of my notes that go along with that. Just before. Okay. So she was saying that, you know, that it'll change everything if Michael becomes supreme. And my initial thought about that was that Fiona was right about Cordelia making bad decisions about men.
Right?
Because she gave her a lot of hell about her husband too, who ended up being a witch hunter of all people. I'm just saying, like, she is now, like, she keeps striking out. And I of all the people to, you know, to put your faith and trust in, she puts them in the worst people, the ones that almost certainly could lead to her decline. Okay, so she does not have a good track record. And, you know, everyone, you know, keeps saying, you know, Cordelia, you're your mother's daughter and everything. But you know what? Fiona would advise, she would have advised against this. I give Fiona this much credit. She would have advised against this. Cordelia, you messed this up on your own. Okay, done.
No, I agree. And you're exactly right, because I can hear, like, her mama, like, just cussing her. Because she did. This is another bad decision with men that she's made now. Just it's like, what are you thinking, you know? And we were talking about with Misty again. She was talking about she had the heebie-jeebies from him, and she was freaked out. She was genuinely terrified over Michael. You know, he brought her back during the 7 wonders. Okay, first we seen him bring back the frog, and then we seen him actually descend. Okay, now first of all, when we seen him descend, we seen the black clouds, right?
Yeah.
What's that guy's name? Hang on,
He was descending into hell because he had to get Misty from her personal hell.
Right.
That's why we saw that.
Mr. Kiggery, wasn't it? He killed Mr. Kiggery.
Yeah, killed him.
Dissected him.
Yep.
And then there was the little kid in there. Bobby was the one that kept messing with. That was the main kid that kept messing with Misty. He talked to him and the other kids. That's what freaked Misty out so bad, because of how he was talking to them And Misty told Cordelia and Myrtle that it was the sound of evil, that she's been able to smell the sweet rot of decaying souls, but he smelled like pure death, right?
Yep.
So I was telling you about how right before I watched this, that I was watching this TV show on the Travel Channel called Ghost Adventures. And I was watching on demand, and I was watching, it was the Death Row episode where they were in Nevada, at Nevada State Penitentiary. And there's like, right? Right? Shut up, Vegas. And it was really creepy, actually. It was kind of cool, but they still use this gas chamber and all there, or lethal injection, I think it is. It's one or the other. I don't remember. Don't quote me, but it's one or the other. I know that. But it's still in use, and they have like this mountain coming out of the rock that's got a cave in it, and that was the hole. But the rest of the prison shut down and stuff. So ghost hunters went there, and there was some crazy stuff going on. They were talking about a demon being in the cave place, the hole and everything. The hole was really creepy too. Like the guards used to drop scorpions and snakes down in there, like literally down the little food hole into it was just, watch it. It's on demand, Travel Channel. Check it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were talking about on this episode, though, that about how demons can trick you and sound like little kids and everything, because they were catching EVPs, which are electronic voice phenomena, right?
Yeah.
So they had this little thing that does out white noise, and then you get voices across it, and they got the voice of the little kid. It sounded like a little girl, whatever. So they just happened to be talking about, it can trick you, and demons can trick you and sound like little kids and everything. It happens a lot. It's very common. Mm-hmm. And then I go and watch this episode. This is important because Misty's talking about the sound of pure evil. Yeah. Now, Michael was talking in his classroom to a bunch of little kids. Mm-hmm. So my idea with this now is that it's because, and they even said Cordelia says maybe he was negotiating your release. I think it's kind of odd that Cordelia is the one saying this, first of all. That she would know that, first of all, is just weird to me. That tells me, number one, that she's not a white witch. I don't think she is in any shape or form. No. And two, that he's I don't think he was negotiating nothing. I think he was flat out telling them, that he was taking her for whatever reason he was telling them, because of who he is. And what does he have to negotiate, Yeah. But it made me think that she was in a room full of demons, that's where, she was in hell. So it was kind of crazy, just watching the whole thing, especially after watching that ghost show. It was creepy. Check that show out if you like ghost hunter shows. It's a trip. I highly recommend it. Them guys are cool.
So Cordelia, again, trying to pass it off as, as Michael trying to negotiate her release. You know what? I have never heard anything so stupid. Okay? Who is going to believe that for a moment? I mean, just because she can't understand what they're saying doesn't mean that, that she's right, because she's the supreme, and, because Misty kind of took it as, oh, okay, that's all. But here's my thought about him. Here's my gut feeling about him. And, I'm gonna give it to the white witches. I am, because everyone else seems to just be missing all of the important key things about Michael, and they're either not keen enough, not experienced enough, or if they are experienced enough, they're just, they're not quite thinking the same way, and they're not thinking the right way about him and what he is.
That makes me wonder about Myrtle, because Myrtle, her little red flags are going off that she thinks something's wrong.
Yeah, she totally does. And wow. Yeah, I think that these I think that these white witches are going to be special, and I think that they're going to start emerging and showing more of their capabilities over the next few episodes. That I'm hoping to see that. That's going to be really neat when it does happen.
Yeah, it is. I think it's going to happen too. I think that's kind of what we got going here. Let's see. So, we had a little healing going on too, because like we talked about earlier, we had Stevie Nicks finally show up. I was so happy when she came in. Now she walked in on dinner, and did you kind of get that little Last Supper feeling there too? I know we already had that too. It's kind of creepy because we had a similar situation with the warlocks, and now it feels like we kind of had the same situation with the witches.
So, okay, and something else that I noticed was the gathering, right? So they had, what's his name? I forgot to write it down, and you just told me his name, the one who's like naive. He was playing the piano.
Baldwin.
Baldwin, thank you. Hold on, I'm writing it down. Baldwin.
Like the piano.
Okay. So I'm just going to make some guesses here. He is hanging around with the female witches, and he's actually in close proximity to the white witches. First of all, I'm just kind of saying, you know, he's kind of accompanying them, right? So a piano playing to a song is an accompaniment, and that's the role that he's playing. I think that he's going to play that sort of role for the females if he manages to live. I think Michael's not very happy about that. I think he's looking down at him and going, "Hey, dude, you're really pushing your luck, being down there with them and not supporting me, not being up here celebrating with me." You know, Michael had this look on his face where he was not happy about that, right? I think that there was a little bit of ire there. But the other thing that I saw was Behold. And, you know, he was coming in to offer his services to the female witches as well. So Michael is losing his, I guess, counsel pretty quickly. Those guys are going to have to watch their backs, those two.
You know, I'm really glad that you brought up their placement, because I caught that too. Ariel and Michael were up top, and they were looking down on everybody else. And Michael just kind of had that look on his face, and it was not a happy look. It was a very commanding look at that too. And he noticed too when they left the room, when Madison and Cordelia did leave the room. He caught that. I think he did at least. Yeah. And then you mentioned Behold. Behold was like sitting on the stairs, and it was kind of like, to me, it was like he was on the fence. That's what it meant by that. And yeah, I didn't even think about Baldwin so much. To me, I thought of Baldwin in a way, like I like how you're saying, like in the company sort of way, especially with his name being Baldwin. But I again, because I was thinking of him being kind of the daddy sort of thing. So I'm thinking of him sort of in a spying, infiltrating sort of way. Like he's just trying to keep an eye out. He's watching everybody. He's everywhere, and nobody's going to suspect him, sort of thing.
I don't think so. I think we're talking about a guy who's kind of, you know, going along to get along.
No, I like your idea so much better with Miss Mead.
Yeah, and I feel like he may be the next one to turn to the female witches and offer his assistance however he can. I mean, he's already starting by playing music for them so that Stevie Nicks, the White Witch, could heal Misty. He's playing a part in that.
It's very Hufflepuff.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're going back. Okay. Woo! All right. You're taking me back with that one too.
I know, right? He is, though. He is very Hufflepuff.
He is such a Hufflepuff. But I just want to pinch his cheeks, though, because he smiles so much. And, you know, I feel like if he survives this, you know, he's going to be helpful. Maybe he'd be able to pass on information that he's seen and heard, because he is, you know, kind of everywhere, and he is kind of quiet and, you know, going along to get along, or, You know, maybe he has something that he would want to share with them, some information, kind of like Behold was saying, look, you know, I've got my reservations about this dude too. So I'm going to help you guys. I want to be part of this. So, I can kind of see that happening. And I know Michael's not happy about it. He knows that he's about to be betrayed. So again, that whole Last Supper thing, you know, before with the betrayal, he knows he's going to be betrayed.
Yes, yes. No, I like that. And it did. It was just very reminiscent to it. And the Misty feasting the way she was, and it was Stevie. It was like Stevie was healing her, and we already talked about with Gypsy and everything like that, and the song, and just the meaning of that. And it was bringing up she's a witch and she's a wish, you know. So. Yeah. The choicest song, and I pay really close attention. I'm one of those people that I think I pay attention to everything. I think everything means something, you know. And the fact that they chose that song, that was the only song that we had this entire episode.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, there's a reason for that. That means something, you know. Yeah. And
the timing and everything.
The timing of it, there is exactly in the parts of the song that they used, even that means something.
Yeah.
And I look at that, and like you said about it just grabbing, I do think that they called in the White Witch to heal her. And how did she even know to show up then? I mean, that was just, and of all people, they knew to bring in Stevie for Misty, you know. How did she know to show up then? You know, it's just, I just love my witches, man. She's Stevie Nicks, man. That's how.
Out of nowhere, unannounced, uninvited. I'm just kidding.
Right. She was so adorable.
So supposedly Cordelia made a call to the White Witch yet again. So don't know how she did it, but maybe telepathically. Don't know.
Right. I know.
Where's the technology? There's nothing there. So. Let's just assume it's telepathic, right?
Yeah, some telepathic way. That's what we're going to assume, or astral projection, something. Who knows? Yeah. So then we have Cordelia. Speaking of, she kind of just sends a little. This was telepathic, so we know that is going on. Sends a telepathic message to Madison across the room. Calls her out to the hallway. We have Behold go, and he's the best eavesdropper. He said, "Good at it. He could be making money more than Amazon." He says. So he's eavesdropping on this conversation. She wants Madison to go check out this place, and because she's suspicious about Michael. Mm-hmm. Finally, Cordelia is getting this little red flag, or at least she's voicing it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
She's been so pro-Michael this whole time. This is the first time we've heard her say anything to the contrary, any kind of doubt. So she's sending her to a location, and she doesn't really know. She asks her what's so special about it. She says, this is where it all began. This is where it all started. So go ahead, Stacey.
I am huffing and puffing and blowing the house down over here, okay? Because, number one, where did Cordelia get that information about Michael, okay? Who told her? Where'd she get it? There's no internet. There's no... How did she know that Murder House was that specific place that she needed to go back to? Okay. I don't, that's just a gaping hole for me. Unless somebody knows the answer to that, I don't feel that Cordelia knows enough about Michael to get that sense about him. You're talking about a school that's in, Louisiana, and you're talking about a house that's in California. How is she going to know about the notoriety of this house? How? Okay, I'm not happy with that. However, this is going to be one of those times where Cordelia's right. And you don't know how she became right. It just is.
Divination. I can never say that word. Divination. There we go. I'm almost saying it right. There we go. That's one of those stubborn words. I got a fat tongue. I can't talk right.
I'll give you that. I will give you that. If that's how she used her power, divination, then great. But okay.
That's my guess. That's the only guess I got. That's how she knew it. Unless she was like doing some automatic writing stuff like how Michael did with the Hotel Cortez and she just drew it or something. But we've never seen Cordelia do anything like that. So I'm guessing she pulled it out of a hat sort of thing. So
and it looks like it was a little folded piece of paper, like it did come out of a hat.
She did pull it out of a hat. I know.
No, but I mean, I make the connection. It could be the divination, because it's entirely possible, because it's one of the acts that they're supposed to do, or one of the tasks that they're supposed to perform, where you associate something tangible with a person. And the murder house could have been that one thing. But I wonder if there was anything else that she might have found out about him at that same time, if that was the case.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how much she did, exactly how much she did find out, how much she does know, and how much she's leading on to. If she knows that's where it began, that's where it all started, what exactly she's sending them to? Because why did she know to send Madison, of all people, first of all? Mm-hmm. It made me wonder if that's why he pulled Madison out specifically also. Did he know that she was going to send them there, you know? Because she did. She could have sent Queenie. She could have sent anyone, but she said, no, I'm going to send you there. And again, that brings me back to, I kind of think that that's Madison's doom. Now, just to jump a tiny bit ahead, next week is going to be Return to Murder House. That's the name of the episode. And we know that from the previews that Madison, that they're buying the house. Madison and Behold are going to be the new owners of Murder House. We know what happens to the owners of Murder House. Right? So
the two of them are so different from each other.
I know.
He was kill each other.
He was like, great.
That was funny. That was pretty funny.
Oh my God. I know. I can't wait to see them. It's like, I wish we could just see them on the plane right there. That'd be funny. They're just going to be funny together. I just can't wait to see it. And I can't wait to see them with Constance. I don't know about y'all, but I can just already hear her I can see her lighting up a cigarette and talk about, what is that boy got into now? You know, talk about Michael, and I can just hear it already. And I can't wait for Jessica. I'm just so friggin' excited. So I see that. Okay, here's a question I'm going to have before we ever get to this episode. I want to know right now, do you think that they're going to get trapped in Murder House for good? Or do you think that there's a chance that these witches, this witch and warlock, whichever way you want to look at it, that they're actually going to be able to help the ghost in Murder House or get trapped with them? Let me put it that way.
The one most likely. The one most likely to get trapped in Murder House is going to be the one who has already been trapped in her personal hell. And, with her family being the original owners of that house, I think that Madison is, she's not going to get out of this one. And I think that was Cordelia's intent too, because rather than have her be with Michael on his side, and she could probably sense that about Madison anyway, because of the whole question about her loyalty. Okay, you know what? You're going to do that. I'm not going to have you double cross me. So I'm going to send you to a place where, guess what? You're going to get stuck. And I would say that if that happens, then Cordelia did something else right in this episode. I'll give her credit. I'll give her credit when the time's right.
Right? Give credit when credit's due. Yeah. No, I think that I agree. I agree. I'm worried because I like Behold, but I think that's kind of going to be his doom too. Now, I do think that they may be able to help some people there, but I don't think they're getting out of there. I think that Madison, that is her doom. She's meant to be there. It's her bloodline. The question of how she's tied into that bloodline, because we know that Charles Montgomery and Nora Montgomery, they had the child that died, right?
Mhm.
So how would, and Madison came from a poor family, right? Her parents, like, basically they were poor. They got her child star, lived off of her, et cetera, right?
Mhm.
So I put some thought into this. My idea, at least how I'm thinking, and I'm just kind of curious how anyone, if maybe someone knows more, if there's a hole. I haven't found it. If there is, somebody let me know. But what I'm thinking is maybe like Charles had a child with somebody else that Nora didn't know about, because where else would Madison have came from, right? Her bloodline has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
That might also be his obsession with the whole pregnant women thing, right?
That might be the case. I could see that.
So that would end up bringing his bloodline back and kind of tie it all in together, circle back around.
Yeah, because she was the one that was having trouble conceiving.
Right. It wasn't him, it was her. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and that's kind of a common thing, I guess.
Okay.
So, yeah, I could see that.
Or you know what? And he was. I mean, I'm trying to remember back because I still haven't found the time to go back and rewatch the season. But um, while the girls were under the anesthesia or whatever, was he doing anything to them?
That's what I was trying to think of, because I know that they did a whole Black Dahlia sort of tie in to him. So I kind of think he might have actually. Um,
That's right. Yeah, the
because,
Black Dahlia. Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, I kind of think he did. That's a good point right there. So that could be from how it happened to begin with. And remember, he was also Doctor to the Stars.
Yeah. Hmm.
So that would explain her acting thing that she has going for her. So yeah, but I think that they're going to come back there, and it's going to circle back around. Which I also think that's when we're going to have Billy D pop up. So it's going to be an interesting toss of characters coming in next week, actually. Um, and we're going to get a little bit more into Michael's background. So it seems that before we go forward, we have to go back, which often happens with TV shows and stories in general.
Right. Right.
Is there anything particular that you're looking forward to seeing as far as in his backstory?
Um, I would like to know how he came into Devil Mama's care.
Yeah, me too.
How that kind of came. I mean, did Constance die, or or did she just figure he was too much and just give him away, or thinking she could save him, or did she purposely hand him over to someone who was a Satanist or the devil, already knowing what he had done, and what he was probably, capable of, and say, here, you develop him, and, you make him yours, and, do what you will. I would like to have seen that conversation. I would like to be a fly on the wall for that.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too, because all right, we know from the preview that Constance is in the murder house, so she died there. But it's a question of how did she die, and I'm pretty sure that Michael probably had something to do with that one. But yeah, how did he end up in Mama Mead's care is a very good question. Um, I'd like to see that as well. I'm curious to see how Vivian reacts to him.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
It seems like
So,
she would have something to say as far as what's happened to him and what he's become.
okay, I will say maybe a mother's intuition, because she didn't seem to have much intuition, probably beyond that. it seemed like, you know, her husband and her daughter had, you know, those sorts of abilities, right? Because we were talking about how they interacted with the spirits and everything. But
Right.
I feel like Vivian didn't really have that. So it would be a mother's intuition, you know, that gut feeling about her child. She would know her child anywhere, you know.
Yeah. No, and I think that she would have probably seen him. For some reason, I just feel like he would have went back to that place when he was growing up a lot. I don't think he went far from Murder House, you know?
So you're thinking that he probably grew up in the Los Angeles area then.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, yeah.
That would be interesting because then he would have a concept of who Madison is too. Maybe.
Interesting, yeah. And again, I think he probably did have the accelerated growth because it seems like they are sticking to the actual timeline going on. And like where they talked about when Miss Cordelia outed them and everything. And if you look back to when to when Murder House took place, then yeah, he should. There's no way he should be as old as he is that fast.
Right. That could be.
So that would be somewhere where he could hide and grow fast, at least, you know?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, my video's froze. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what's going on there.
We love seeing you.
I know. I keep looking at it like, okay, I don't know why it's doing that.
You look very thoughtful.
I know. Let me just contemplate that a moment.
That's hilarious.
I'm having a very, very deep thought. Oh.
This show does that.
Yeah. Now he's grabbing cords around my computer and making my monitors turn. Let me get into one more last thing really quick before we get finishing this up. With the one thing that I'd like to see as far as with the Murder House goes next week is I'm curious about if Tate will ever get his resolution and forgiveness from Violet.
Ooh, okay. There's only one way that he could do that, and that would be a kind of a father-son face-off.
See, that's what I'm kind of hoping for. I'd really like him to kind of make his
But let me just throw that out there. So is that going to have to come at the same time that the White Witches try to defeat him, or is it going to be a concerted effort on all of their parts, and then somehow, you know how in movies when somebody is being, you know, they want to get rid of them completely, they have them like grasp onto them and then they pull them down into hell. Like,
yeah.
it's like Tate would have to do something like that the White Witches maybe couldn't do. So I feel like the White Witches are going to have to like subdue him and make it so that Tate can just grab him and take him down under forevermore.
Yeah. No, that sounds, I like the sound of that. I like the whole idea of that.
That could be his redemption, I guess.
Right. And what I keep thinking about is I keep going back to thinking about how March killed Queenie in some kind of little okey doke fashion, you know, like when they're looking left, he comes at them from the right, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Like the White Witches are attacking him from one way and then Tate come in from another and get him from behind, sort of thing.
But wouldn't he know that he's being, you know, kind of snuck up on? I mean, that's kind of like, you know, the idea of having powers is that you could kind of sense stuff like that. I mean, he has the ability to, you know, to move from this place to that, right? So,
right.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be an easy task. I
oh no, I don't think so either.
But with Tate being a ghost, I mean, that could be to his advantage. It's not like we're talking about a human here. Being
a ghost and also being of his bloodline, I guess. I don't know if you consider that his blood. I guess that would be his bloodline. It's his ghost daddy.
Yeah. his ghost daddy. Devil Mama and Ghost Daddy.
Devil Mama and Ghost Daddy.
Wow. We got the names.
Real Mama. I don't know. He's got some, right? His grandmama. He's got a bunch of them, man.
I don't think that Michael's going to see Vivian as his mother, though. I mean, unless we're... no, we're not going to talk about a religious experience here where, Mary gets impregnated. Well, hold on a second. Let's go there. Let's go there then. Because with Vivian, she got pregnant by a ghost, right?
Right.
So if people look at the story of how Mary got pregnant with Jesus, I mean, people call God a ghost, right? So
right.
You kind of have like a connection to Mary there. She becomes a Mary-like figure, if you will.
Right.
In a strange sort of, backwards way. And she ends up having, the Antichrist instead of the Christ. I don't know. But yeah, she kind of becomes a Mary-like figure, if you look at it like that.
No, I've thought about her the same way before. When I first watched Murder House, that's how I thought about her. Actually, she was the Mary figure.
The Immaculate Conception.
Right. Exactly. Because really, that's pretty much what it was. I mean,
but here's the thing, right? So the difference is that Tate actually, had sex with her.
But she was still touched. I mean, it was the same idea, just in a different.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was more hands-on. Let's put it that way.
A little bit more, physical.
Yeah, a little more physical
but
there.
But the same idea of a spirit, that sort of interaction. So yeah, I mean, I didn't really see her that way before. I mean, it may have crossed my mind, but I kind of like put it out because I didn't really make any religious references that time around. But they're, because they're a strong theme in this particular season, I have no doubt in my mind that she is a Mary-like figure.
Yeah. No, that's how I've been seeing her. Yeah, I've been seeing it, a very strong thing. Especially this season, actually. It's been coming out a lot more to me, actually. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh, let's bring up, speaking of really quick, we were talking earlier about the whole blood moon thing. And we found a lot of other interesting stuff, speaking of that. Going along with the whole blood moon thing, that there was actually a lot of apocalypse stuff that I found that happened a few years ago, where there was blood moons that coincided with some Jewish holidays. It happened like 4 different times, and it was supposed to mean like the end of times or something like that. And obviously it didn't happen. We're still here. But there was like a big debate between 2 preachers, or a preacher and a rabbi or something like that, over it, because both of them had theories about it. One had a book come out, another one had a book come out a year later, about the same events. And supposedly it was supposed to lead to cataclysmic events happening in 2016. And yeah, it happened in 2015, but it was supposed to be leading up to stuff happening in 2016 or something.
Yeah.
And here we are, folks.
Yeah. So the phenomenon, the blood moon, happens at least 2 times a year, and then up to about 5 times a year. So it's not an uncommon thing. It's just a matter of catching it at the right time.
Right. And it's actually, all it is really is just like dust around the moon and gas particles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That just give it a reddish hue, orangish hue. But if you're superstitious, then it's a whole nother thing right there. But yeah, every October is considered a blood moon. Automatically. So October 24th, be looking out, because you'll have a blood moon then. Is there anything else that you can think about that you want to mention as far as this episode goes?
So, a little bit. it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with Mallory, right? I think that for being a minor character in this episode, I like the way that they hyped her up as much as they did with as small amount of time as they were given. So I thought to myself, you know what? I personally need to go educate myself some more. So this is where Stacey gets educated, right? And I decided to learn more about the Phoenix because we were talking about it. And I was like, you know what? I know a little bit about this. I know that there's, you know, the comic book character and all of that, and the city. I've been to the city. It's hot as hell there and everything. But I wanted to learn more about what the Phoenix is, what it signifies, and what it could mean for Mallory and even for our white witches.
I love the way you're thinking.
So
I love where this is going.
Let's revisit this for just a moment, and then I'll call it quits with my brain waves here.
Take it away.
So a phoenix. A phoenix cyclically regenerates. Okay, which means it's born again. It obtains a new life by arising from the ashes. Now, okay, hold on. We saw Misty do that in this episode.
Right.
Okay. We saw her come back from the ashes, and I made sure to write that down because she turned to ashes. So it would make sense that she came back from the ashes. Nobody else did. Nobody else was shown coming back from ashes, but Misty Day in this episode, in previous episode. So I thought that was interesting. Maybe these white witches could be phoenixes. I'm going to keep going forward though.
Oh.
Okay, but it gets even better. It says it obtains new life by arising from the ashes of its predecessor. Okay, so there has to be more. There has to be predecessors. Okay, in order for this to be a phoenix. And it also dies in a show of flames and combustion. So you go down in a blaze of glory. So when you were talking about the fire, the witches and everything, that's closely associated with the phoenix just in general. So just throwing that out there to you. And
Myrtle went down in flames twice too. And she said there's knowledge in the flames.
Yep. This is why I do what I do, right? So, so again, strongly associated with resurrection, along with Christ, Mary, and virginity. Okay. It's also associated with the exceptional man. And I like the word exceptional because we kept hearing that about the witches and the warlocks. They're being exceptional, as well as Timothy having exceptional DNA. So the word exceptional keeps getting used over and over. It's like a recurring theme in here. So I thought, oh, that's interesting, you know. And it also means life in the heavenly paradise. So these are people that, you know, that, and we were talking about butterflies and ascending to heaven last time. The phoenix is pretty much, you know, the same idea. The phoenix came from the Phoenicians, which are associated with their purple dye. So we've got the purples too, which signifies the upper class and royalty. And the phoenix is known as a royal bird. Okay. Also, a phoenix is usually depicted endowed with a nimbus, aka a halo of 7 rays. So there's the number 7 again. How?
There's right, and there's the halo too. Like Mallory was wearing whenever she was wearing the white dress. Remember, I was talking about where she has a little crown on.
Yep.
Look at it; it really does. It looks like a halo too.
It does. So I thought I would revisit that and tie everything that we've seen so far together with our white witches. I think these white witches are going to be phoenixes. That's how we should look at them as viewers, and how we should you know, kind of see how they're going to you know, operate is as such. Phoenixes.
Brilliant. I love it. I love it. So that's Mallory, that's Misty, that's Myrtle Snow. Who else do we have?
And Coco.
And Coco and Stevie Nicks. That's 5.
There's 5, yeah. So we need 2 more. Who's gonna be our 2? And it doesn't say whether a phoenix is a male or a female. So we don't know if maybe if we get some, males who are phoenixes in this.
Wouldn't it be interesting if John Henry popped back up from them flames?
That would be interesting because he did go down in flames and he was turned to ash.
See, okay, and I kind of was stuck on the fact that she went for his Achilles heel. I think there's something to that. Because I went down the whole Achilles rabbit hole with that one.
The whole mythology with Achilles.
Yeah, especially because he was dipped, because Achilles was grabbed by the heel and he was dipped in the river Styx. Yeah. So that's where I was with that one. So it was just an interesting way for him to die,
That did cross my mind about the whole ashes thing, is that he's a likely candidate for that if they decide to go that route.
And he was the only one that seen Michael's face like that. So the fact that Michael's only appearing to certain people is also a curious thing.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I don't think Cordelia is a phoenix.
Oh no! I don't think so either. I think her bloodline is probably more tainted, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No. I don't think she is at all. I think she has a more darker role to play.
But
she's meant to bring it in. She's meant to bring it in.
Yeah, totally. To bring this all together, a facilitator. And one of my initial thoughts as I was, looking up this whole Phoenix thing was, is there a connection between Mallory and Misty? And obviously I think that there is. I think that they're both white witches, and I think that these white witches are phoenixes.
Yes. No, I agree with that. I was thinking the Phoenix a while ago, but I like the way that it's expanded from just one person to several now. And it's making me look at the witches a lot differently too, as far as I'm just looking at a lot of the witches differently. I'm curious about Zoe myself now, but I'm on the fence with her. Honestly, I think I feel
she
more
was on the fence too.
Right, I know she was.
She was on the fence too.
Oh, coming joke. Oh Lord. Yeah, she was on the fence. I'm more for Queenie thinking than I am for Zoe. But Queenie. Yeah.
So
where's the other one? Go ahead.
Did she not look more peaceful and gracious to you this time around?
She did.
Like after she was brought back, she smiled a lot. She didn't really have her sarcasm was turned down a bunch of notches, and she just seemed calm.
Right, like she had a peace over her.
So maybe she, on the voodoo side, maybe she becomes, a phoenix in her own. I don't know. That's a guess, but she just, her demeanor has changed significantly where Madison's did not.
Right,
and,
right.
It just seems to me like maybe she's got some inner peace somehow. And now that she's seen death, she's happy to be alive. And she could have the aura or the the persona maybe of a white witch in the making.
Yeah, she's one to watch. She's definitely one to watch.
I'd like to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And did you notice that we did not see what was her name? Dinah?
Dinah.
Yeah, we did not see her this episode at all. It's like she just vanished.
But if she does make a comeback, then we already know her dealings with Michael, and he's already seen her as a dark figure.
Right.
And
she already said that she didn't want a part of it.
Exactly. So I don't see her being the seventh. And unless she changes the 7 wonders.
Yeah. No, I could see maybe them having to talk her into something, but more than likely I see she's going to be an obstacle later.
Well,
I see her being bald. She could be easily bald, I think.
if she feels it's going to benefit her greatly in some way, but that's not how the White Witches operate either.
Right.
You know,
Well, that's why I think she'll be bought by Michael. Let me clarify that. I think she could be easily bought by Michael.
I don't see her turning to the light.
No, I don't either. I don't either. She's going to the dark side.
Because she knows and he knows that she's not powerful enough to do anything to him. That was already established when he had his interview with her.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And I'd really like to see more of her because she was just kind of playing a really good, like, evil witch, for lack of a better way to put it, because she really was. I kind of wanted her to see her as, like, Snow White's mom or something, you know, her
Joan
stepmom.
Collins comes back to be the 7th. I'm just kidding.
I know. It was so funny, though. Like, just when you said the interview with Michael, it just makes me giggle because she was just playing it so good.
You know how they say that, like, if they die off screen, they didn't really die?
Right. Yeah, no bones, no body.
What happened to her? She was never turned into food.
Yeah, no.
So what happened to her? I mean, is she dead? If she's not, she could probably be a candidate, but I don't know. Maybe she is dead. I'm hoping not.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. So, anything else? Let's go through it real quick.
All I had.
I know. I will sit there. I will go on and on about this thing too. We also did not see no more of Coco's husband. He is still lingering somewhere, possibly, unless he really was a ghost. Remember, it was Halloween, so the veil was thin. Next week, we have Murder House, Return to Murder House, episode 6 is going on. We'll be here at 8 o'clock, same time next week. 8 o'clock Eastern. Let me say that. It's Eastern. We're on Central, and what is it? You're on Pacific, right?
Pacific.
Yeah. Okay. You're all the way over there. That's what I thought. So, yeah, it's different times for us. But we'll see you guys next week for Return to Murder House, where we'll see Madison and Behold. We'll be going back to California to go to the murder house. I'm kind of excited to see the real estate agent again, too. So
yeah. I'm still waiting to see how this is all going to tie in, and maybe it's just for historical purposes to learn about Michael, and that's it. Who knows? So that Madison can learn about her past, her history at that house, and that's it. So it seems like a very small sort of episode where it's just for the purposes of 2 people, really.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's a lot of whole filling in questions, the gaps. They're going to fill in the gaps. We're going to get a lot of questions answered. There's stuff that we've been wondering over the seasons, but they've never really told us about. A lot of stuff with Madison, a lot of stuff with Tate and his background going on. We're going to get another Constance reunion. Everybody's been waiting for Jessica Lange. I know that. So a lot of cool things are going to be happening. We'll find out, like you said, about Madison's past and about Michael's past. Of course, I'm really excited about that. We'll find out what that creepy little kid was doing when he was growing up, and maybe a way that the White Witches will defeat him. I'm Revengeance. I thank everybody for joining us, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you, Stacey, once again for joining me. Y'all have a great week, everybody.
Bye, everyone.